Hello, my name is Shreyans and this is a series on developing your equity research process. In this video, we're going to discuss the final category of ratios, which are return ratios, and also do a DuPont breakdown, right? So when I say return ratios, what I really mean is return on capital, return on equity, and return on assets. And most of the times these are discussed as part of profitability ratios only, but I wanted to discuss these separately because we are also going to break these ratios down and understand them one level further, right? So that is why I wanted to break these down, and let's get started. All right. So as I talked about that, we have basically three ratios, which is return on capital, return on equity, and return on assets. Now, before we get on to the formulas and everything, first let's understand that why are we calculating these ratios and what do they really tell us, right? So with any business, what any promoter or any business person does is they invest capital, and then the business exists in order to grow money for the shareholders or for the promoters, right? So now how can we invest into the business? There are two sources of capital, so to speak, which is equity and debt, right? And using that capital, we purchase assets, right? Because those assets help us to scale our operations. It helps us to produce whatever goods or services that we are providing, right? So with these ratios, we're trying to understand that how well or how much of a return are we generating on the money or on the resources that we have already invested into the particular business, right? So return on capital is calculated as EBIT, earnings before interest and tax, upon capital employed. Now, this capital employed includes both equity capital and debt capital, right? Thing to note here is that EBIT is pre-tax, right? Then we have return on equity, which is calculated as profit after tax, which is post-tax, because that is what is available to equity shareholders, right? And divided by the value of equity. And then we have return on assets, which is also mostly calculated post-tax as profit after tax upon the total assets, right? So obviously the return on assets ratio would be lower because assets are a much larger figure compared to capital or equity, right? And again, there are several ways to calculate these. For example, you could use average capital employed, or you could use closing capital employed, and similarly average equity or closing equity, or average assets or closing assets. Just like always, whichever formula you use, please use that formula consistently, right? And what all is included in capital employed? So we take the long-term borrowings and we take the equity of the company. Now, equity has share capital and retained earnings and other reserves. So mostly we take the whole figure of equity. But if you want to go down into the components and select or exclude any of the components, again, apply whatever formula you're choosing consistently throughout, right? So capital employed base, one another way to calculate or contextualize capital employed is that it is the total assets less the current liabilities, right? So current assets less current liabilities is the working capital, and then you have the non-current assets, which are the let's say the long-term capital that you've invested. So these are a few ways that you can understand capital, right? So return on capital measures the return to all providers of capital, which means equity shareholders and debt providers. Return on equity basically measures the return to only the equity shareholders, right? Which is why it is post-interest and post-tax, right? And then return on asset basically tells us that how much are we getting back on the assets, on the money that we've invested into the assets, right? Now, these are very, very important as well because we need to understand that capital has a cost, right? There are no free lunches. So whatever capital that has been invested into the business, whether it's equity capital or whether it's debt capital, it has a cost. With the debt capital, it is basically there explicitly into the interest. With equity capital, when the promoters are putting in their own money, we don't really realize it, but equity is obviously even more expensive than debt, right? And if a company is basically failing to deliver returns on capital that are greater than cost of capital, that it means that it is not creating any sort of value, right? For example, if your cost of capital is 12 or 13% or 15%, but your return on capital is only 10%, that it means that the company is not creating value but destroying value for the providers of capital, and that can be a very challenging thing, right? All right, so that was pretty much it for the calculation of these different ratios. And now we're going to move to something interesting, which is breaking down these ratios into other component ratios, right? So let's get to it. Now we go, this is called the DuPont breakdown or the DuPont analysis, whatever you would like to call it. Now we know that the formula for ROE is PAT upon equity, as we discussed earlier, right? But we can break this down and let's see how, right? So we can break this down into PAT margin, which is PAT upon revenue. Then we can multiply it by revenue upon assets, which is basically asset turnover. And finally, we could do asset upon equity, right? So you can obviously see, since all of these three are multiplied, revenue gets cancelled, assets also gets cancelled, and what you have is basically the ROE. So the first ratio, the PAT upon revenue, is the profit margin, net profit margin. Revenue upon assets is basically asset turnover, or how well we are utilizing the assets. And finally, we have assets upon equity, right? So this is basically called a financial leverage related ratio. We did not discuss this in solvency because we would do debt upon equity or debt upon assets. But here we have a slightly different version of it, which is assets upon equity. So if you think about it, if a company has significant debt, right, then what you would find that the difference between assets and equity would be larger, because equity plus liabilities equals assets, right? So if a company has higher debt, then obviously the figure of equity would be comparatively smaller, or the figure of assets would be comparatively larger, which would give rise to a larger ratio, right? That is why we call debt as a double-edged sword, right? If the company is doing well, then it can magnify the returns, or it could increase the returns for equity shareholders. But if the company is performing poorly, then the equity shareholders have to bear the brunt of that too, right? So in many ways, it's about assessing the financial leverage and the impact of low or high leverage on the return to equity shareholders. So the first is profitability related, the second is efficiency related, how well are you using your assets, and the third is related to the capital structure, right? So based on your source of capital, how your return on equity is determined, right? The next one, the next ratio which we have is the ROCE, right? So ROCE is basically EBIT upon capital, and then you can also divide this into EBIT upon revenue and revenue upon capital, right? So revenue upon capital is also an efficiency related ratio, right? So that basically tells you that, again, how well are you using the capital. Now, when should you use ROE and when should you use ROCE? So mostly you would be able to calculate both, but if a company has significant debt, or if a company has debt in its capital structure, it's good to look at ROCE as well, right? And then we would also look at that how this is relevant when we move on to the valuation of the company as well, right? And if a company does not have any sort of debt, then obviously ROE would be the way to go. Now, what happens is that when we are trying to analyze the ROE or ROCE, right? Also, one more thing is that you could calculate return on assets as PAT upon revenue and revenue upon assets. So that is also very straightforward. But mostly we do the DuPont breakdown of return on equity or return on capital employed, because these are these provide actually more insights into the company's performance, right? Okay, so now how do these breakdown, how does this breakdown help us, right? So whenever you look at ROE or ROC, whatever the figure could be, it could be high, low, it could be increasing, decreasing, but then you can break it down into three ratios or the two ratios and understand that which of these is driving the ROE, right? So a lot of times you might find that ROE is consistent and you might find that, okay, that's great. But when you break this down, you might figure out that, okay, the profit margins are declining, but the company has taken a lot of debt, so which means the financial leverage has increased, which has uh, basically negated the impact of the declining margins, and the revenue, the asset turnover is more or less constant, right? So that is why it is important to break this down to understand that, okay, where is the return coming from? Is it coming due to higher profit margins? Is it coming due to better quality or better efficiency in the operations and productions, or is it just because a function of capital structure, because the company is highly levered and if it is doing well right now, so that is why the equity holders are also getting good returns, right? So just looking at the face of ROE and ROC is not enough. We need to go down into these component ratios to understand that what is driving high ROE, or what is driving or dragging the low return ratios, right? So that is why it is important to understand that. We've already calculated these ratios, these component ratios, in the previous categories, in profitability and efficiency related categories. And when we calculate the return ratios, all of this basically comes together, right? So of course, this is very interesting and provides a lot of insight. Now, the ROE could also be broken down into 5 components. So basically, instead of directly doing PAT upon revenue, you could do PAT upon EBIT and EBIT upon revenue. And so it could be broken down to 4 or 5 components, but mostly these 3 components could help, will provide you enough understanding of how things are really moving. And you've already calculated the different margins, so you can take additional insight from there if required, right? So don't worry too much about that. All right, so this is more or less it that I had to share with respect to the DuPont breakdown. So with this, we have actually completed all the ratios. So we've done profitability, solvency, efficiency, liquidity, and finally the return related ratio. We also have valuation related ratios, right? Like the PE, PB, the different yields, so on and so forth. But I think that would be better discussed when we discuss the valuation of the company towards the end of this whole series, because they are relevant at that point of time. And through these ratios that we've calculated till now, we are understanding the financial performance of the company. So the valuation ratios, we're trying to understand the valuation of the company. So it's slightly different. And I feel those ratios would be better suited there, right? So I hope you were able to make sense of these different ratios, right? Few important things: always apply the formula consistently. Write down the formula as well in a column so that you know which all components are included or excluded. Don't just look at ratios in isolation. Look at the different ratios that might be impacting one another. Look at the breakdown of the ratios, right? Also, the not just like the DuPont, but also the component breakdown of the ratios wherever you feel that there is any significant change within either the components or within the ratio, so that you have a clear understanding of how this is going or why the numbers are how they are, right? So these were a few things to take care of, and hopefully you'd be able to calculate these very easily and also write down observations through these ratios, which we'll be discussing in the next video. So that was pretty much it with respect to the different ratios that you can calculate. If you have any confusions, please let me know and I'd be happy to help. In the next video, we are going to combine everything that we've done till now, which is preparation of financial statements, common size and comparative statements, the forensic checks, and finally the ratios. And we are going to start writing the different observations that we have based on whatever quantitative analysis we have done. And these observations will help us to guide the future study or the future research into the company that we are going to do. So I hope you're able to easily calculate these ratios and understand what different ratios mean.